Get your dad the Father's Day gift he really wants. SpiritedGifts.com makes it easy to send him his favorite brands of tequila, bourbon, and scotch. Make your gift a true trophy for Dad by adding a custom engraving to the bottle. Visit SpiritedGifts.com/Dan for free gift wrapping and other special offers.
This is the Dan Levatar Show with the Stugotz Podcast.
I suppose we'll get to basketball in a second, the way that the Rockets and the Celtics went down. You know that I don't say very often that anyone in sports is mentally frail, but choking does look a lot like that, where you can't make any shot that you normally make. That's what it would look like if you want to file the accusation.
Choking has a beard?
Well, I was going to both game sevens. I was going, no, it's got a beard and it's got Rozier on the back of its jersey, too. Like, that's what it would look like.
That's sort of the new definition of choking until something else replaces it. The idea that that team at home on that stage would miss 27 threes in a row.
Losing game sevens at home in low-scoring games where you can't make anything is what it would look like.
Right, where you can't do what you normally do. That's the weird thing.
Not even that. Not even what you normally do. Something merely slightly awful. Slightly awful would have been good enough for both of them. Just not historically awful.
Buddy.
But before we get to that, I want to talk about what has been this buried Richie Incognito story. And football is in such an odd place because I read the details on Richie Incognito. And I think he made a Pro Bowl after his bullying scandal, after he became a name for everyone. He was once named by Sports Illustrated the dirtiest player in the league, and that was his claim to fame. And then his claim to fame nationally became that he bullied someone in a locker room, and no one could imagine in football that anyone would get bullied in professional football.
Richie Incognito made the Pro Bowl in 2015, 16, and 17.
Okay, so, wow. So every year after the bullying scandal, he went to Buffalo and made the Pro Bowl. And this story gets less fun now, though, because I honestly don't know here. Is this synthetic weed? Is this football? Or is this just Incognito? Is this just Richie Incognito?
Could be a combination.
I don't know.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. So here is some of the backstory. He told the Buffalo News that he had decided to retire for health-related reasons, again, after 3 Pro Bowls. Quote, my liver and kidneys are shutting down. The stress is killing me. It's just about doing what's right. I just want to be in the Hall of Fame. So days before retiring, he fired his agent in a tweet. Then he told Adam Schefter that he wanted to unretire. And Buffalo released him from the reserved retired list. He was released on Monday, and then this happened Wednesday. He's in a gym, and he threw a tennis ball. Then he threw a dumbbell for no reason. He was rambling about the government. He screamed at a man, get off my bleeping playground. He was not arrested. He was placed on psychiatric hold. And then there's this quote. There's a guy walking around with headphones on. I'm running NSA class level 3 documents through my phone. I can't have anybody in Bluetooth capability of me or taking pictures of me. That's something that he was saying. This is the behavior of somebody who's gone off the deep end. Now, why has he gone off the deep end? These details are these are cry for help details. These are, not arrested, just this is asylum stuff.
Right.
And so the place that football is responsible to me, even if it is synthetic weed, is that this guy can't smoke normal weed. Normal weed does not do stuff like that. You don't hear people having, you might have a paranoid streak. It ain't like that.
Right. That's what my friend told me. So I think you're right on that. So you're saying the synthetic weed that's what he needs to to make him feel, or not feel some of the pain that he's feeling from playing football, perhaps?
Not what I'm saying at all. You were just trying to get your joke off, so you weren't really listening.
Well, wait a minute. Does Bluetooth technology allow you to intercept someone's thoughts? Because I didn't know that.
If you're using synthetic weed, you're generally doing that because you want to avoid drug tests, which is something that you have to do in football, because if you want to get back into football, he can't go into a facility and try and get a new job and fail a drug test for marijuana, especially if he's in the drug program.
Right. If you had to guess, though, like why Richie is acting like this, it would be football, right?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I wonder what you do with the idea of after this guy's big scandal. And I remind you, there was a task force assembled for public relations purposes that is still not rendered a verdict. It included Jason Taylor, Don Shula, Curtis Martin, Tony Dungy, and every name with integrity in the history of sports. We keep asking those people when they come on to tell us about the task force meetings. They laugh and say nothing. It's been years in the making. We are waiting for that task force to render a Bullygate scandal document of some sort. It has not so much as farted as a committee.
Did they ever meet?
I don't know.
Like all of them physically in the same room?
They say they did.
They're preparing to meet.
Shula tried to merge a call on his phone with Dungy, and they both got confused by the technology.
For some reason, Curtis Martin was a part of it.
That's right. Already said that. You're not listening again.
Sorry.
You're in playoff form here, right off vacation.
Sorry.
So the documentary that's going to be made on Bullygate in the last couple of months took a really interesting turn because, remember, I know the Richie Incognito stuff is recent, but Jonathan Martin had his own incident a couple months ago where he's making terroristic threats towards Richie Incognito, by the way, which that might be one layer to what's going on with Richie Incognito right now.
That's so weird. I was going to mention the same thing. How bizarre it is that the main bully and the main victim have experienced such mental illness signs. It's so serious and so scary. Richie Incognito was in his prime at a position where you can play until you're 35. I mean, he retired prematurely, and now we have an idea why. It's just a shame. It's so easy to make fun of a Richie Incognito, but I really feel for the guy and his situation, and Jonathan Martin as well. I mean, both of these guys, they should be on high alert in terms of what might happen next.
It could also be steroids.
It could.
But it could be anything.
Point.
It could be the culture of football. The behavior is so weird, though, that I wonder what we do with these discarded, disposable bodies. Because when I tell you about all that stuff, when I put that all together, the idea that he's retiring because his kidneys, or he says everything's failing, his body's failing, then he wants to get back to it. And he's at a gym ostensibly working out because he wants to get back to it. And he goes crazy in a gym and is put in psychiatric care. And the machine takes care of him how?
It doesn't. And if he's that fragile in his mind, the idea that he wants nothing more than to get back in football and football's not going to give him one more chance, that's going to, theoretically, you can envision that pushing him over the deep end.
The thing that's the worst about this as you arrive at this kind of crawling around in darkness is now you don't even have value to an employer who might put in place something to help you because you're valuable to the employer. Now you're wandering around a Boca gym by yourself going crazy, hearing voices on your Bluetooth, and you don't have... Who cares about you?
Right.
The Buffalo Bills can't use you anymore. Their new management, they get a new management team in there. Maybe they didn't care about any of your craziness when it served them. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't care for your nuts even when you were making the Pro Bowl for them, but now they certainly don't care. You're not their problem anymore. So now what?
Yeah, because if you retire on good terms, you can be a bunch of different things with that team. You can be some sort of a goodwill ambassador. They make you a director of community relations. You get into assistant coaching.
Are you crazy?
I mean,
are you crazy?
No.
I don't mean Richie Incognito.
Goodwill ambassador
No.
Richie Incognito?
No, that's not what he's saying.
No,
if Richie didn't do some of these things, perhaps he could have been something like that for one of these teams.
Yeah, way to misconstrue everything I said. But
you sounded crazier than he does.
Well, what I'm saying is he doesn't have that avenue open to him, which a lot of players who leave do.
He lost that avenue 15 years
Bullygate.
by being Richie Incognito, by being born.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
Don Le Batard.
Pot calling them kettle black, as my grandma used to say. Nellie Doogie.
Stugotz.
Nellie Doogie is your grandmother's name?
Used to be. Still is, I guess.
It is.
But it's on a headstone now.
Will always be your name, Greg.
What kind of name is that?
It's an odd name. I beve it's a French name. We were of French ancestry, which I don't like to talk about a lot.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Johnny Knoxville is going to join us at noon Eastern. He's got a new movie out about Stugotz's childhood. You may not remember, what was the name of the park? Action
Park, yes.
Action Park. We became obsessed with it one day because it seemed unbelievably dangerous, and now Johnny Knoxville is making a movie about it, and we have made our own 30 for 30 preview about Action Park, which Johnny Knoxville will be here to discuss with us in a couple of hours.
What if I told you that from 1978 to 1998, it was a water park that regularly killed patrons, but had the survivors longing to come back? That on its opening day, over 100 swimmers were saved from the wave pool. That the wave pool was often referred to as the grave pool. That employees were described as underaged, undertrained, and often under the influence. That ride designers may have had insufficient training in physics and engineering. That a guest once said, they seemed to build rides not knowing how they would work and then let people on them. That during testing of the Cannonball Loop, dummies were thrown in and repeatedly came out decapitated. That the ride was altered until the dummies came out intact. That park employees were then offered $100 to test it out themselves. That the park owner purchased additional ambulances for the town to keep up with incidents at the park. That after all of these incidents, the park was only fined once. ESPN Films presents a 30 for 30, where a successful day at Action Park wasn't measured in fun, it was measured in survival.
Those are all true stories, right?
Good times, man. Good times.
That's not you. Normally those things are you being funny, making jokes. Right. Everything there was the truth.
Everything there was the truth, and Johnny Knoxville has made a movie called Action Points, and so I'm excited to talk to him. It's funny because anyone who grew up in that area in the Northeast knows exactly what I'm talking about. They've been to Action Park. It was the wild, wild west of amusement parks. That's what it was.
I love it. I will see that movie, quite frankly. But my question is...
You're lying.
No, I will see that movie.
Get the Kentucky Fried Chickens out on him. He hasn't seen... What was the vote? Swing Vote?
Swing Vote
was the last movie he saw.
Yeah, you're right. I won't see it. But if I were to go see a movie...
You have to listen to the chickens. Mm-hmm. You even know how to watch a movie nowadays.
I really don't.
You know how to open up Netflix.
Are there still theaters?
Without calling someone for help.
I'll go to a theater if they still exist.
Quit arguing with the chickens. The chickens are undefeated, never lost. Right. You lose when they come out.
Johnny Knoxville was also born in Knoxville, Tennessee, not really the Northeast. He's just playing a character in a movie. I'm not sure he has any personal experience. Fine.
Chris Cote has spent a good amount of time looking some stuff up that I will read to you in a moment. But first, happy 43rd birthday to Daniel Tosh.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
So the last time the NBA Finals did not include LeBron James, here are a list of facts. You tell me which one you think is funniest. Okay. 78% of current NBA players had not yet made their NBA debut. So 4/5 of the league hadn't played an NBA game. Game of Thrones wasn't a TV show yet. Game of Thrones was not entertainment, and neither was Drake. Those two things did not exist as entertainment. An all-star was named Chris Kaman.
Get out of here.
Chris Kaman was an all-star. So many people competed for in free agency. Derrick Rose had not yet won an MVP. Mike Trout was playing A-ball. LeBron had a teammate named Shaq. The Warriors were 30 games under 500.
I mean, are there more? Because the first one and the Warriors are clearly the two leaders.
Only 3 of the current 19 Marvel movies had been released, and the first Avengers was 2 years from coming out.
That was back when the Warriors were trying to decide who to hand the keys to, Monte Ellis or Steph Curry.
Yes.
Steph Curry and James Harden were rookies. They couldn't give it to Steph Curry. He was a rookie. That's funny.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It really is.
Good God, though. I mean, Celtics and Rockets just should have gone in the locker room with puke on the front of your jerseys.
Dame más gasolina.
Seriously, both franchises going to the offseason smelling like vomit. I know they're encouraged and happy and all that, but I'm saying that last game,
right.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, the Celtics, Dan, have to be encouraged, right? Like, I think it's a different deal for the Rockets. They were expecting to beat the Golden State
Guillermo,
Warriors.
put it on the poll. Did the Rockets and Celtics poop themselves?
Don Batard.
Well, coffee is America's drink. A man is never more a man than when he's got a cup of coffee in his hands. Although I love it when I see a woman drinking coffee.
Stugotz.
Coffee means hot coffee. Iced coffee works against the coffee brand. Coffee is hot coffee. It can be black. It can be sweetened, lightened, but coffee is hot coffee. But unquestionably, that's America's drink.
Can't be a Frappuccino?
No,
Right,
no,
right.
no.
Does it not go without saying that would be an excellent back in my day if you believe in this so strongly? The idea that coffees have mutated into all of these flavors that are unacceptable to you?
I think I did one of those. One of my most popular ones. Coffee!
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So this is an actual conversation that was taking place during the break. I make this not up. These two court jesters with whom I work on Tuesdays are laughably insufferable. And so the back and forth was actually this. Because they weren't listening to anything we say, and because they're always just looking for ways that they could bring more attention to themselves.
Yep.
Greg Cote looks up from his computer screen where he's just looking up his name and what's this green screen challenge, and he just spends the whole show. What are people saying about me? He looks up from his computer and he says to Stugotz, so Johnny Knoxville gives you credit for the movie that he's making, Stugotz? And Stugotz's response, looking up from probably wagers that he's making on tennis matches, or the Coca-Cola 600.
It's legal now.
Stugotz looks up from his computer. It's not legal yet.
Well, I mean, keep it quiet.
Stugotz looks up from his computer after Greg Cote says to him, so Johnny Knoxville gives you credit for this movie that he's making? And Stugotz responds, does he? And then the conversation flows easily from there, both of them just soaked in their own ignorance.
Well, I got multiple reports last week on
You got
Twitter.
one report. From
it felt like 1,000. It did.
You got one report from an egg on Twitter.
I saved it. It's not an egg. His name is Keith. I saved it, and it says, in quotes, by the way, because Johnny Knoxville was on with Howard Stern last week, I decided to make the movie Action Point after hearing Stugotz talk about it. Quoting Johnny Knoxville, put it in quotes, Dan. So it led me to believe that this was an actual conversation.
Where
that
are the chickens? Why aren't the chickens back out? The Kentucky Fried Chickens.
You want to hear him out? I feel like he's making plenty of good points right now. There's no way that this is a lie.
All right, let him. All right, let's hear him out and see if at some point it summons the chicken. Let's hear. Please make the argument.
Keith is quoting Johnny Knoxville.
That's right.
Yes. I mean, Keith, not an egg. It's Keith.
There are quotation marks.
Yes.
That's right. They're in quotes, so it's official.
Well, I mean, listen, to me, it seems like Keith was listening to the interview and decided, hey, I like both shows. What a nice thing for Knoxville to say. And he quoted it for me and sent it to me, so I was aware that Johnny Knoxville said it. And quite frankly, he should give me credit. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm.
Stugotz, last year, Johnny Knoxville was on Jimmy Kimmel Live in June.
Yeah.
Talked about how they had just wrapped up filming the movie. We didn't talk about this until July last year. So you think
right.
that Johnny Knoxville went to South Africa, filmed this entire thing, had all these injuries, and then heard you talking about it a month after he was done filming and decided to let me make this movie?
Yes. Now, you say wrapped it up, but he wasn't set to release the movie. They just wrapped up filming of the movie, not set to release the movie, because I think he was worried about interest in this actual topic. Then he heard me talk about it on the radio, heard everyone calling and talking about it, saw the reaction, and then decided, you know what? We got ourselves a project on our hands. Let's release this thing. So I really closed the deal for Knoxville is what I did. So I should get a credit, something, anything. Yeah.
Billy, are you calling Keith a liar?
Yo, chicken time.
The timing is a little off.
All this checks out. All of it checks out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chicken's final say.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chicken.
It's true. Every single last drip.
Okay.
A rare affirmation by the chicken.
Okay, I'm sorry to have summoned you. Clearly, I'm in error. Stugotz also accuses Brian Windhorst of weeping on television after LeBron won. He says this is what he does. He tells me, Dan, I wasn't paying attention. I don't know what Windhorst was or wasn't doing. But he's like, Dan, Windhorst was crying on television after he's saying that the media has to carry on this story, this legacy. And then when I look at him and I'm just the avalanche of lies that falls, that tumbles from his lips, never ceases. It is unrelenting. Right. It is stronger than the sun. I look up at him and he's like, ask Scott Van Pelt. He'll tell you.
He will. And I'm telling you, Scott Van Pelt was holding back laughter. This happened Sunday night, maybe around 12:15, right after the game. I'll never forget it, Dan, where Windhorst came on the air after the Cavaliers had, beaten the Celtics. LeBron had a legendary performance, another legendary performance, and we're getting carried away calling it his greatest performance of all time. But he had another great performance in a big game, and Windhorst came on the air, and I'm not certain he cried. He was definitely fighting back tears. He was very emotional. Had a great look with the hair, by the way. He's changed his hair around. He looked fantastic, and he lost a couple LBs. Mm-hmm. But Windhorst, I'm just saying, he looks good.
Yeah, good-looking man.
That's a compliment. He looked great. Brian Windhorst looks better than he's ever looked.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I'm telling you. But he was fighting back tears, and I think he probably cried, and Scott Van Pelt was holding back laughter. So you had a guy holding back tears and another guy holding back his laughter because that guy was holding back his tears. It was amazing to see. I'm telling you, this happened. And for some reason, Brian Windhorst feels like it's our responsibility to make sure no one ever forgets about this run through the Eastern Conference by the Cavaliers and LeBron James. It's our responsibility.
Yeah.
We can never forget it.
Yeah, because LeBron
Who's going to forget it?
LeBron doesn't get enough credit, so we have to remind everybody to continue the legacy.
Yes. Hey, cried.
Most credited player in the history of sports.
Yep. It was a little serious, a little bit much, like we got to carry this forward, make sure no one ever forgets. It's not that important. I mean, he beat a Celtic team without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. I mean, how about we never forget that the Celtics were playing without their two best players and LeBron wheezed to the finish line to beat them. How about that, Wendy? Because that's what I'm going to carry forward, okay? That's what I'm going to not let people forget. That LeBron James wheezed to the finish line against a Celtic team that was starting Terry Rozier.
I've never seen a team this bad make the finals, and I saw Eric Snow get to the finals. Like, I saw those Iverson Sixers.
Oh, you don't think that team was worse?
No. This is the
worst, Eric Snow team?
This is the worst team I've ever seen in the finals. It's terrible.
Now, would you have said that if Kevin Love is healthy and playing?
Less so.
But still maybe?
I mean, they won 6 and 7. They won without him.
I have tracked down audio of Brian Windhorst's Sports Center appearance.
All right,
Would you like to hear how emotional he is?
Yes, let's hear his alleged sobbing as seen through the eyes of a lying Stugotz.
The other night, he had a low-energy game. He went 11 of 22 with 10 rebounds and 5 assists. He was the best player in the game, and he had a low-energy game. Tonight, he had a historic game. And when you think about it, yeah, it's true, Scott, that this could be his last game in Cleveland as a Cav. That's true. And if it is, and nobody knows, what he's delivered in this building, this postseason, is phenomenal. 2 buzzer beaters, just a string of incredible games, and then tonight, those 2 3-pointers. He's given this crowd so much, and I have no idea what's going to happen, but nobody walked away from any playoff game in this building this year not seeing a special moment from LeBron James.
Oh, there's more.
There's more that proves your point?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just telling you, there's more. Windhorst cried, and then he went into this whole ridiculous rant about how we have to never let people forget that LeBron James went through the Eastern Conference Finals. I asked Scott Van Pelt.
Yeah, he did cry. At one point, he blew his nose on the air.
And Keith told me.
Bailo, sell high. Time for some ads.
A lot of people verifying what Keith said, by the way. It's Johnny Knoxville quote.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Dan Le Batard.
You want me to get real?
Stugotz.
I'll get real.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
The rating on Celtics LeBron was a 9.1. It's the highest ever for an NBA game on this network. It ties Heat Celtics in 2012. And I'm wondering, because the ratings go up as these series get tighter and tighter. We had a couple of Game 7s. Those last two series went exactly the way the NBA needed them to go in every single way. And whatever questionable calls there were in both games at the end also went the way the NBA needed those questionable calls to go. And I'm just wondering, put this on the poll, Guillermo. I'm wondering how many people realized that Joe Johnson was a Rocket during this series. So put it on the poll. Did you know Joe Johnson was a Rocket before this series? And one of the amazing things that has been noticed around here, go ahead and pay the fine on that, Stugotz. Yeah. One of the amazing things that has happened as we've aged around here is the idea that Joe Johnson comes into a game and everyone is calling him ISO Joe. Which I thought was supposed to be an insult, or was an insult last time I thought about him. ISO Joe was an insult. I don't think I've seen a nickname become exactly that in my entire life in sports, where a nickname that is something that is you making fun of a guy then becomes his actual nickname, and he probably says hello to people. Where's the name tag? Hi, I'm ISO Joe. That's not a compliment. How did that nickname stick? Just because it rhymes?
I think so. You think he introduces himself as ISO Joe?
Everybody's calling him ISO Joe as if it's, a compliment, which it's not. It's not, correct? Or is it now?
It is now. When you're 36, it's a compliment.
I mean, it does sound a lot cooler than Ball Movement Joe.
Yeah. ISO Joe. It's nice.
That is so frustrating for Chris Paul to watch all of that happen exactly that way. And
he could have played. I mean, I'm just saying, Dan. I mean, Ronnie Lott cut off his finger and went back into a football game. Did he not? Ever heard of Willis Reed? Flu game? Hello?
Do you have any other thoughts, or are you just here to just rip
just
everybody?
Surprised, biggest game of his career. He couldn't figure out a way to, give him 15 minutes, 20 minutes, some inspirational something, give him anything. Exactly. And give him absolutely nothing.
Yeah. It's probably because he doesn't care, right?
I mean, I'm ill. Look at me in the studio.
Right. Playing with pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Where was Chris Paul?
Well, while we're at it, you guys were a lot of fun during the break ripping Kyrie Irving, so why don't you have at it on that one, too?
Well, I mean, he missed the game. Listen, the least he could do is show up to Game 7 and sit there. I mean, he's the only guy on that team, am I wrong, that has NBA Finals experience, a bunch of young kids who have cheered and rooted for Kyrie Irving the entire year coming off the bench. Every time Kyrie does something, those guys are there for him, and Kyrie Irving, in their biggest moment, is not there for them because he has a deviated septum. I've had that since the day I ran into a soccer goalpost, and you know what the doctor said to me? Hey, if you get around to it, get it fixed. If you get around to it, go get it fixed. Kyrie Irving decided to get his fix on Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals night. That's a terrible job by Kyrie.
I've had a deviated septum my whole life. Didn't know it until 5 years ago when an ear, nose, and throat guy told me.
Yep.
Actually, it was a woman doctor.
Yep.
Fantastic job she did. The point is, a deviated septum is not a serious thing. It's like a hangnail. You put it off until after the series.
Yep. So, you agree, huh? Well, you got to be there for your team, Dan. You're the best player. You're the leader of that team. I'm being serious here, okay? You're the best player, leader of that team. Young kids need you. I agree with Mark Jackson where he said that he'd rather have Kyrie Irving there than any of Brad Stevens' assistant coaches. because he has experience, he has knowledge of the game, he can help these kids out, and he doesn't show up. It's a bad job by Kyrie.
You agree with that comment?
Well, only because it helps my argument here. So, yes. Greg, do you agree with that comment?
I do.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN.
Get your dad the Father's Day gift he really wants. SpiritedGifts.com makes it easy to send him his favorite brands of tequila, bourbon, and scotch. Make your gift a true trophy for Dad by adding a custom engraving to the bottle. Visit SpiritedGifts.com/Dan for free gift wrapping and other special offers.
Dan Le Batard. Ta-da! Stugotz.
Voila.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So 538 is saying that the odds of the Rockets missing 27 consecutive threes is 1 in 72,000. So if you'd bet $1 before that string started, if you bet $1, the odds would have been $72,000 would have come your way.
Great bet.
No, it's $7,200, right? Or is it? No, it's $72,000. It's $72,000 damn dollars you could have made if you bet $1 if, betting odds were like that, which they're not.
Right.
Another guy writes it another way on Twitter. Assuming the Rockets had a 1 in 3 chance of making each 3-point shot they took, the odds of missing 13 in a row is 0.55, so 0.5%. And the Rockets missed more than twice than that in a row. It was breathtaking. Just totally staggering, because it's not like they were all contested threes. It's not like Golden State was playing great defense. But one of the things that we do around here that people enjoy in terms of holding the media accountable is we do a parade of gas bags. And they become increasingly hard to do, Stugotz, because now everyone's on television hedging their bets. Everyone's afraid of the shame. People are not as strident as they used to be. But if we go back into the files of, and we've been doing this for years, Mike, what was the best parade of gas bags that we have? The very best one. And I know we're putting the most recent one in an unfair position because they can never be as good as the original parade of gas bags.
When the Heat finally won a title, when they finally won, that was the best parade of gas bags.
So the Miami Heat, not in 2006,
Right.
when the Miami Heat won after losing in the finals to Dallas, they were on the ropes the next year against Boston, and the collection of stuff, because that was an over-scrutinized team, and people hyperventilated, and people have learned their lesson on this. They don't do it anymore this stridently.
LeBron and the Heat were actually underdogs in this NBA Finals to James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin
That's
Durant.
right. They were underdogs in the finals, and here is some of what was circling around the Heat at the time. This is the best of the parade of gas bags. Again, the team that is being talked about here won the championship a few weeks after all of this was happening.
The Miami Heat are the biggest disappointment in sports.
I hope they are uncomfortable. I hope they are stressed. I hope they are embarrassed. I hope everything, because they have flagrantly failed to live up to expectations. There is so many things that they have done wrong.
I wanted another commercial where LeBron says, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there with a clutch gene, because he doesn't have any clutch gene.
You don't just roll out people and win basketball games.
Is Miami done? Yes. Finished. It's over. Wow. It's over.
You guys came out there jumping on stage like idiots, so quit whining and like a little girl.
I don't believe they want it bad enough.
What holes are you guys exploiting in this defense?
Them complaining and crying to referees in transition.
LeBron James was made for the regular season, but come postseason time, he's the most overrated, overhyped superstar in my history in this business. Seriously.
Take that with you!
They're not what they were sold to be.
They're certainly not winning an NBA World Championship. Not only is this series over, everything's over for Miami.
So everything is over for Miami.
I thought after Stephen A. said that Miami was going to break off from the United States and just float away in the ocean.
Right.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes.
Mike, is there another one that we could play before we get to this year's version? Again, I know I'm neutering this year's version because they can't be as good. And like I said, everyone's out there hedging these days, because if you even heard me, and I'm not exempt from this, I was doubting this Cavs team more than I've doubted any that LeBron has had this decade, but I never picked against him. I was never bold enough to actually pick against them. I just kept doubting them.
How about the parade of gas bags from when the Cavs overcame a 3-1 deficit?
Oh, that's got to be a good one. That's got to be filled with a lot of Batard.
I think you start to lack the fight once you realize this thing's over. I would imagine if they were being totally honest, they'll never say it, because those guys are just much better than us. We're overwhelmed. There's really not much we can do. We thought we could go small. And by the way, this is 7 straight wins. Like, maybe just Golden State is that much better than them.
You know, there is no logical basis that you can make right now for why this won't be a sweep based on what we've seen in the first 2 games.
I just need the Cavs to win a couple games, so my prediction of 6 will be correct.
Listen, if there is one thing you ever absorb that I say, let it be this. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a 0% chance of winning the NBA Finals. None. Zip. 0. LeBron's a choker. The Warriors are running away with this thing. I guarantee it. Cut it up. Save it forever. There is no way this comes back to haunt me. Warriors in 5.
Yeah, I think the Warriors have a tight grip on the series right now. It looks like they're going to take this one.
And let me tell you something, brother. This LeBron James really needs to man the up. I punch myself in the harder than that every day. I'm doing it right now. And I'll do it again later. See? For fun. Look, I'm doing it right now. Warriors in 5. Woo!
This is how bad it is right now. You're Cleveland. You cannot go out like this. They look like they have had their heart stripped right outside of their chest, and the only damn thing on the left side of their body are tattoos. That's how bad it looks right now.
So, Chris, what did you find as you rummaged and you worked to try and find a parade that was worthy of shaming gas bags?
It was not easy. I had to search a lot of sound. Not many people picking against the Cavs this time around, but I found some stuff.
All right, well, let's hear what we've got. And again, I set it up by saying it pales to the original stuff, but let's see. I haven't heard this. Let's see what we've got here.
LeBron getting to the finals?
No, it's Philly.
Yeah,
it's
you're
Philly.
wrong.
I mean, I have been wrong for the last 7 years if I bet against LeBron.
Right. You mentioned all the things the Cavs don't have. You didn't mention the thing that they do have. That's LeBron, the greatest player in the world. Okay, the guy you trust most, under 5 minutes left in a game.
The bottom line is this. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not good. They are not a good basketball team.
Here's the problem that Cleveland has. Even if they win at home, how are they going to beat the Celtics in Boston?
I don't see
where
it.
The Celtics are 9-0.
They overhauled the entire roster to get a bunch of guys that all of us bloviating gas bags said we're better at spacing the floor, we're younger, we're more athletic, we're better at defense. Are we saying that all of these players are terrible, or is Ty Lue not setting them up to be efficient in any possible way?
Where are they going to go? They don't have enough people to beat Boston.
These young Boston Celtics are rough riders. They're athletic. They're young. They don't tire easy. They come at you. They got a boatload of heart. And so when we look at it from that perspective, I'm here to tell you something right now. Cleveland is in a world of trouble.
Is it possible that many of the members of this team realize and see the writing on the wall that they're just not going to get it done, not the way this is, and so the body language and such is just like, let's just get this done?
Tony, what we know to me right now is that Boston's a better team. They're more athletic. They have more players that matter.
They've always been the better team. They're more talented. They're quicker, faster, more depth, more range shooting.
As several people I admire say, facts don't care about your feelings. These are facts. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not good.
I'm telling you the Cavs are going to the finals. I'm telling you that I'm going to make fun of you and everyone else who picked against the Cavs once they do make it to the finals. You can change it right now if you want your last chance.
Boston Celtics are the better team. And this series was always obvious. The destiny of this Cleveland Cavaliers team was always obvious. Some of us just told you early. Some of us just know basketball. Some of us should be renamed Will Stradamus.
Oh, Will, you have not learned from the mistakes of your predecessors who hedge. Will is very strong. He will learn to stop doing that because we will not stop playing that in your face when you get it wrong. Jeff Van Gundy was very close to having a very solid prediction. He predicted Celtics and Rockets, and he was very, very close. Stephen A., though, went on Twitter. He didn't say this out loud.
Okay.
during the Cavs Game 7. I just can't see how in the hell the Cavs are going to win this game with Kevin Love when Jeff Green and J.R. Smith can't make the absolute most wide-open threes you can expect to have on an NBA level. I just can't see it. Also, Mike Francesa chimed in with the Warriors had lost all their poise.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the
and then
middle of Game
afterwards,
6.
he said we all should have saw this coming.
That's right. Well, that's the Francesa move right there. Warriors have lost their poise. We all knew this was going to happen. Okay, good talk, Mike.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
Don Batard.
How much money does Sister Jean actually get? None.
Stugotz.
How do you know that?
Because I do.
Well, you don't know that.
Right. I was actually making a play on words. It went right over your head.
I did. I'm sorry. My bad. I missed the joke. Yeah. I don't get the show.
Let the joke sit. Let the joke sit.
Yes.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We got a Greg Cote back in my day to get to, but first we got to go more into the archives here, the parade of gas bags from the past, because we all forgot that at one point we just started making them up. That second one we played was a total accident. It had a lot of fake stuff in it. This isn't. This one here isn't. Mike, is this the Cavs beating the Warriors the year that they were down 3-1? Is that what this one? Okay. This is the one that has all my shame in it. I can't believe LeBron this quickly has been a league afterthought.
He can improve in the sense that he can adjust his focus in life as far as from being the best player to being a more complimentary player, a more facilitating player and all that. But in terms of being as great as he was the last couple of years, that's out the door.
Never again.
It's not happening.
He's clearly getting older. He's clearly not the same guy. It's just a different person. It's clear. It's jarring.
This is a diminished LeBron James.
He just seems like, man, can't believe we're healthy, and yet we have no answers for the Warriors.
He can't shoot anymore.
Right.
He can't shoot anymore. From the perimeter, he stinks at shooting.
We're not just admitting to the obvious, which is that LeBron's getting older, and that when people call him the greatest player in the league, that's clinging to the past. It's just kind of evident.
This is a lesser LeBron James than we saw in even last year's finals. He's got a ton of minutes and miles on his body. He cannot summon that piranha defense that he used to be able to summon whenever he wanted. He hasn't given you one of those Game 6 at Boston to save a season games in a while. He did it 17 times in these playoffs. The save a season game. Did it every time that he went on the court except for one.
Except the Raptors.
That's right.
Yes.
No, not except the Raptors. He did it to the Raptors every single time.
And when he was just having not really boss in Game 6 games, he was just winning games at the buzzer against the Raptors.
That's right. Yep. Time now for Greg Cote's Back in My Day.
And now, it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guy, Greg Cote, with Back in My Day.
Delivery. Home delivery used to have a communal, personal side to it. Even before my day, believe it or not, men atop horse-drawn carriages would use large steel tongs to deliver giant blocks of ice door to door. How are you, Mr. Shepherd? Why, hello, Miss McGillicuddy. The milkman delivered his snow-white bottles in the morning. The Culligan man brought jugs of water. In my youth, it wasn't necessities, but treats we awaited with glee. We'd listen for the far-off tinkle of bells signaling the good humor man's approach. In our neighborhood, the highlight of the week was when Old Man Rafta in his paisley bow tie would deliver Charles chips every week. Anybody remember Charles chips? In the big brown and yellow tin containing that wonderful wonderland of salty crunch. And then, when you were done, the tin made a wonderful tom-tom before you turned it in, empty the next week. There was a human element to delivery once. Now, commerce is such, we don't want to ever leave our house or actually speak to anybody, unsurprisingly fomenting our national culture of antisocial behavior. Online purchases are made soullessly with only the soft clatter of keystrokes and delivered in brown cardboard boxes. The Stepford packages left on doorsteps one after the other like silent abandoned infants. Food delivery is the worst. Once you'd ask, does our restaurant deliver? The query is outmoded. Thanks to Uber Eats and dozens of other such services, you can get anything delivered, but camaraderie is crushed amid the alleged convenience. You download an app, place your order online, never speak to a real person, and prepay for everything, so the only exchange at the food handoff is maybe a token grunt. Why not have a rectangular slot installed in your front door like you see in prison cells, so you won't even have to open the door and make eye contact as your robot food is brought to you? I'd rather drive 20 minutes in a hailstorm and arrive back home with a soggy sack. A soggy sack of tepid food in my own hands, not brought by some squirrely rental driver who was 10 minutes late because he pulled over and surreptitiously ate 4 of my shrimp. Oh, and by the way, what I'd really rather have again is Old Man Rafta grinning up my Pebble Drive with that heavenly tin tub of salty crunch. Yes. I'm Greg Cote, and that's how it was back in my day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll here. Do you remember Charles's chips? Also, Stugotz during the break was during the game last night, and then after the game, Steve Kerr and Kevin Durant were doing sports radio.
That was great. It's Steve Kerr and Mike D'Antoni. They were doing sports radio.
But Kevin Durant, what happened? What happened with all of them?
According to the Undefeated, during Game 7, Mike D'Antoni said to Kevin Durant, if we had Chris Paul, we'd win this game. After the game, Steve Kerr is enjoying some Mortons and a beer, celebrating their victory over the Rockets, and he catches wind of this, and his response is, oh, yeah? We would have beaten the Rockets in 5 if Iguodala was healthy.
Yes! Sports radio.
That's why I love it.
Don Le Batard.
Am I holding Cody back? Because we get this all the time. When Cody's on Kornheiser's show, when he's outside the lines, when he's on Mike and Mike, he gets a lot of response. Wait a minute. You are a journalist. You're good at this.
Stugotz.
Well, I think of myself as a professional chameleon. If I'm in a blue room, I turn blue. If I'm in a Technicolor room, I look like the Jeff Gordon logo. If Kornheiser wants to ask me a really serious question, I'm going to answer in kind. If I'm on with somebody who wants to yuck it up, I'm going to put on a party hat. You know what I'm saying?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We'll get to the funniest thing from the sports weekend after Stugotz updates us on the news here.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping is retiring from MMA due to vision problems from a detached retina sustained 15 years ago. Kyrie Irving skipped out on watching Game 7 of the East Finals to have nasal surgery on his deviated septum. Terrible. And finally, Jay-Z's streaming service, Tidal, has reportedly been late on royalty payments to record labels. Earlier this month, there were reports of Tidal inflating streaming numbers for Beyonce's Lemonade and Kanye West's Life of Pablo. Guys, you know me. I like to be in the action. If you need tickets to the game or your favorite band, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Vivid Seats has options to fit your needs. Make sure you get to vividseats.com/ESPN today for an exclusive discount offer. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Our thanks to Greg Cote of the Miami Herald for being in with us through his illness. If you want to click on his column, as you should, MiamiHerald.com is where you go. Will Kane has gone to Twitter. Will Kane, you can hear him every day here at ESPN Radio, 3 to 6 p.m. What has Will Kane said on Twitter, Stugotz?
I don't hedge, weenies.
So we don't have much rebuttal to Will Kane calling us weenies outside of this.
LeBron getting to the finals?
No, it's Philly.
Yeah,
it's
you're
Philly.
wrong.
I mean, I mean, I have been wrong for the last 7 years if I bet against LeBron.
Right. You mentioned all the things the Cavs don't have. You didn't mention the thing that they do have. That's LeBron, the greatest player in the world. Okay, the guy you trust most, under 5 minutes left in a game.
The bottom line is this. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not good. They are not a good basketball team.
Here's the problem that Cleveland has. Even if they win at home, how are they going to beat the Celtics in Boston?
I don't see
it.
The
Celtics are 9-0.
They overhauled the entire roster to get a bunch of guys that all of us bloviating gas bags said we're better at spacing the floor, we're younger, we're more athletic, we're better at defense. Are we saying that all of these players are terrible, or is Ty Lue not setting them up to be efficient in any possible way?
Where are they going to go? They don't have enough people to beat Boston.
These young Boston Celtics are rough riders. They're athletic. They're young. They don't tire easy. They come at you. They got a boatload of heart. And so when we look at it from that perspective, I'm here to tell you something right now. Cleveland is in a world of trouble.
Is it possible that many of the members of this team realize and see the writing on the wall that they're just not going to get it done, not the way this is, and so the body language and such is just like, let's just get this done?
Tony, what we know to me right now is that Boston's a better team. They're more athletic. They have more players that matter.
They've always been the better team. They're more talented. They're quicker, faster, more depth, more range shooting.
As several people I admire say, facts don't care about your feelings. These are facts. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not good.
I'm telling you the Cavs are going to the finals. I'm telling you that I'm going to make fun of you and everyone else who picked against the Cavs once they do make it to the finals. You can change it right now if you want your last chance.
The Boston Celtics are the better team. And this series was always obvious. The destiny of this Cleveland Cavaliers team was always obvious. Some of us just told you early. Some of us just know basketball. Some of us should be renamed Will Stradamus.
Nice. Perfect.
It's so great.
I mean, there ain't anything better than loud wrong.
Oh, it's awesome.
There ain't anything better.
Yeah. I agree with him, though. The Cavs aren't very good.
Right. I love that he thinks that's a fact. Facts don't care about your feelings. Facts are the team that he said isn't any good is in the final. And I agree with him. Let's do funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is brought to you by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Facts and info. What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
A-Rod not knowing how to eat a hot dog.
How was he eating the hot dog?
It was in a Sunday night broadcast. They were in Chicago and they brought him hot dogs. I don't know. He just the dog was falling out of the bun. He bit the bun first. It was like it was his first time.
Wow. Weird. Put that on the poll when you can, Guillermo. Does A-Rod know how to eat a hot dog? What was your funniest thing from the sports weekend?
After winning the Eastern Conference Finals, LeBron barely acknowledged Dan Gilbert. Just walked past him like he was some random fan.
He was really happy. LeBron was really happy after winning that game. He surprised himself. There's a quote from LeBron James. They asked him if he had lost faith in that team, and he said, quote, "If I did, I wouldn't tell you." That's a good question, though. He clearly lost faith in that basketball team.
I think he was blinded by happiness, and that's the only reason he even acknowledged him the way that he did.
At the center of his joy, floating across his joy like a turd in a punch bowl, old Dan Gilbert. Roy, what do you got?
Enos Cantor dyed his hair gray.
Oh, God.
No, we didn't.
What?
What? I got to see this.
Wait, so do I.
He looks like a boy band member.
But how old is he? He's 7 feet. He's Turkish. He looks like a boy band member? A gray boy band member. Mike, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Oh, we've been subjected to an entire postseason of who's better, LeBron or Michael Jordan. And after LeBron's epic Game 7 performance, Kobe Bryant decided to interject himself into the debate no one was really having regarding his presence in it. He said on Twitter, "We can enjoy one without tearing the other down. I love what he's doing. Don't debate. We can't be definitively won by what you can't. Don't debate what can't definitively be won by anyone." And then he made sure to hashtag enjoy my 5, enjoy MJ6, enjoy LBJ Quest. No one was talking about Kobe in this discussion.
Greg, if somewhere between all of those coughs you can give us your funniest thing from the sports weekend,
man,
we would appreciate it. I tried. I told Greg he could leave if he wasn't feeling well right after Back in My Day, and he's like, "No, I'm fine. I'm going to bring the lightning and the thunder."
German TV station bags an exclusive interview with Dwayne Wade during the Formula One Grand Prix in Monaco. One problem. Dwayne Wade was not within 5,000 miles of Monaco, and the person they were interviewing looked nothing like Dwayne Wade.
Actually, it wasn't Monaco, but they probably interviewed someone incorrect.
So it was an imposter?
It was an imposter.
All right.
Stugotz, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend for you?
Trevor Ariza.
Really? Was that fun? That was funnier than Rozier, and Harden went 0 for 11 too. Why was Ariza? Why was
just Ariza? He was 0 for everything.
He is a championship calming influence on that.
That's
roster.
what I love. The Rockets had one guy on their roster with champion DNA, and he's the guy who went 0 for 12. My funniest thing from the sports weekend is Kendrick Perkins taking a selfie with the Eastern Conference champion trophy. But it could have been this Stephen A. sound. Stephen A's mad at Wilbon. Stephen A. and Wilbon are going back and forth in sports debate because Wilbon says it's impressive. It's impressive that LeBron got this team to the finals, the most impressive accomplishment of his career, and Stephen A's not having any of that.
You know what, Michael Wilbon? This is a bad moment because you know how much I love you. But see, you get I was trying to be calm until you went there. First of all, the 45-15 when he dropped it in Game 6 against Boston, that was a huge treatment just because of who he was going against.
That's one game.
I understand that. 2007, I hear you. There's no question about it. But what bothers me about you, Jeff Van Gundy, and all of you old school cats who helped teach me the game, I love how y'all just ignore errors. Y'all bring up errors all the time, but then you ignore them. Doesn't competition matter? I just broke down for you a bunch of novices in Indiana, petrified puppies in Toronto, a Boston squad without Gordon Hayward or Kyrie Irving, and y'all are talking about this is the greatest achievement in LeBron James' career. Oh, my Lord. Did Jeff Van Gundy go and buy him a dozen roses, too? Is that next? I mean, come on, y'all. Listen, LeBron is the
winning
best
a
in the world.
championship. I'm not saying this is the greatest achievement.
Okay.
You got to win a championship to have it be a great achievement.
That's fine. I guess
greatest.
Now, listen. And then you brought up Golden State when they came back from the 3-1 deficit. Did you forget that stimulus package at the NBA game? The Cleveland Cavaliers suspended Draymond Green, and then after that, Andrew Bogut gets hurt.
Where was Draymond in Game 7?
I'm just saying.
Was Draymond in the building for Game 7?
Was Bogut and Iguodala ready? No, they weren't. They won 100%. So I'm just saying, guys, listen, I understand that LeBron is the greatest in the world, the greatest of the generation.
Be careful, you're starting to sound like Skip for a second.
No, hell no. But here's the deal. You look at this Eastern Conference playoffs. I'm just talking about these Eastern Conference playoffs. Now, if he wins the finals against Golden State, that's different. But these Eastern Conference playoffs, who has he really gone against? Can we stop? Please. Okay. Please.
You know what?
Come on, man.
The best thing about it,
Mike.
Steven.
Washing my nose. Oh, yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Don Le Batard.
I love me some doctors. Have a lot of respect for the medical profession.
Stugotz.
Except chiropractors.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz's weekend observations are going to be at 12:30 Eastern. That's 45 minutes from now. They are very popular. Johnny Knoxville, he is very popular. He is going to be with us in 12 minutes to talk about his new movie about Action Park, called by many Traction Park. It's Stugotz's childhood. He once did a 30 for 30. These are all facts. These are factual things that were in the 30 for 30 that Stugotz did a preview for.
What if I told you that from 1978 to 1998, it was a water park that regularly killed patrons but had the survivors longing to come back? That on its opening day, over 100 swimmers were saved from the wave pool. That the wave pool was often referred to as the grave pool. That employees were described as underaged, undertrained, and often under the influence. That ride designers may have had insufficient training in physics and engineering. That a guest once said, they seemed to build rides not knowing how they would work and then let people on them. That during testing of the Cannonball Loop, dummies were thrown in and repeatedly came out decapitated. That the ride was altered until the dummies came out intact. That park employees were then offered $100 to test it out themselves. That the park owner purchased additional ambulances for the town to keep up with incidents at the park. That after all of these incidents, the park was only fined once. ESPN Films presents a 30 for 30, where a successful day at Action Park wasn't measured in fun, it was measured in survival.
I read an interview with Johnny Knoxville the other day. I found it interesting that he's going to a therapist, and he thought that the therapist was giving him some great wisdom by saying, think before you act. It's not something he had considered. Seriously, he admired Evel Knievel so much that the idea of consequences, he's like Stugotz in that regard.
Right.
The idea of consequences eludes him.
But it's the most basic thing a psychologist would tell you.
It's not,
my daughter would tell me
it's not great wisdom, but he thought it was someone emerging from a mountaintop with tablets, the idea of, hey, you can think before you do things.
I heard him say that before he was filming this movie, he stopped going to therapy because he knew he had to get in that place where he was just going to do these stunts.
Well, it's just crazy, and I can't wait to talk to him about some of this stuff that risks paralysis that he is willing to do, because he's always like, the human body recovers. It'll be horribly painful, but it'll recover. But sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
And he doesn't seem to consider that. And so I'm curious, like the stuff that he's done that has caused the most pain, because who else is doing that? Who else is doing Evel Knievel? Who's doing Johnny Knoxville? Anybody? Like, that doesn't...
I mean, his entire crew. In fact, Johnny Knoxville was very much the face of Jackass, so other people in the crew would do the more dangerous stuff.
Right. But he's 47, man. Like, that's got to hurt. The recovery on that takes a lot longer.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking to him about it, because he's making a movie about this park, and there was something in there that wasn't a fact. I don't believe there were any actual fatalities. I don't believe that Action Park had death. Did it?
Because I'll look it up.
You can't really stay open when that's the case. No matter what, no matter how loose you play with the rules, I don't think that Action Park actually had death, did it?
There's 6 known fatalities.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. That doesn't shut you down.
Look at Chris Cote back there laughing and then covering his mouth with his freckled hands. I know you're laughing at me, Chris. Yes, because I didn't think there were actual deaths there.
Right. I mean, the Alpine slide was really the one that people were concerned about. I believe a kid died on the Alpine slide, like just flipped over and hit his rocket ahead and then passed away like a couple hours later. That was the most dangerous ride, man. I'm telling you.
They were only fined once with 6 deaths?
Yeah. A 15-year-old boy drowned in the wave pool.
Yeah, they had to repaint the bottom of a pool because it was getting too hard to find some of the bodies.
I'm hoping Greg makes it through the show. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. You good?
No, I'm fine. That's just for effect. I'm fine. It's an illness. Don't worry about me.
One of the funniest things from the sports weekend that wasn't about sports was the Donald Trump tweet. Happy Memorial Day.
Oh.
Those who died. Wait a minute. I got to gather myself here because it was amazing.
Oh.
Happy Memorial Day. That wasn't, by the way, Greg Cote making political commentary. That's just his illness.
Yes,
his coughing.
exactly. Right.
Happy Memorial Day. Cody is so dying to talk politics. So dying.
Right. Well, right now he's just dying.
Donald Trump's tweet, Happy Memorial Day. Those who died for our great country would be very happy and proud at how well our country is doing today. Best economy in decades, lowest unemployment numbers for blacks and Hispanics ever, and women in 18 years, rebuilding our military, and so much more. Nice. He managed somehow to make Memorial Day about him and his accomplishments. That's hard to do, man. But Greg Cote is literally dying to talk politics. So go ahead. Have at it. You can actually have them.
No, I can't.
Go ahead. You've got the
first of all, who says Happy Memorial?
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN Radio.
Sport Clips Haircuts and ESPN are teaming up for a Dad's Day getaway. An all-expenses-paid trip to ESPN and a day spent with Golick and Wingo on their show. Register for your chance to win at sportclips.com/ESPN. No purchase necessary. See rules at sportclips.com/ESPN. U.S. only. Age 18 and up. And 6/15/18.
Dan Le Batard.
Stugotz is disgusting.
Stugotz.
Yep.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Did you feel bad at all, Stugotz? And we're awaiting Johnny Knoxville now, or Philip John Clapp Jr., as his birth certificate says. Did you feel bad at all for when Ariza goes 0 for 12, when Rozier goes 0 for 10 from 3, when Harden goes 0 for 11 from 3? Did you feel bad for any of those people?
Not James Harden. I felt maybe for Terry Rozier because he was kind of a guy who was thrusted into that position and played very, very well. So I think he probably, I didn't feel badly for him. He exceeded expectations all the way through the playoffs. James Harden needs to do better.
I felt bad for all of them, for all three of them.
Really?
Yeah.
How can you feel bad for James Harden?
Stugotz, your season ends right there. Your season ends right there on your Rozier. This is your big moment. You've been waiting your entire life for people to notice you. You enjoyed this playoff run because the playoff run was so generally stinky everywhere that the big controversy was Terry Rozier going after Eric Bledsoe.
Right.
Like that's the big head-to-head matchup we had in the East. And Terry Rozier gets out there for Game 7, and he bleeps the bed. Like, just totally. LeBron was there for the taking. We will celebrate LeBron for getting that team to the finals, and we will celebrate LeBron for how he played in that game. But if Terry Rozier had merely been a pedestrian, mediocre basketball player instead of a apocalyptic failure.
Right, but that's Terry Rozier. I mean, sometimes he's mediocre, and sometimes he's Terry Rozier, which is a failure.
But how good did the postseason feel to him back when he was scary Terry and he was making threes all over the place? Then you get to the big moment. You got LeBron there. You try to dunk on him. He sends you back. You try to dunk on him. Like, the only thing the Celtics have to hold on to now from this wonderful season of theirs is, Tatum dunked on LeBron. Yes.
They got more than that, don't they?
No, from this, I'm just saying, the season's over now, and it was a nice story.
Yep.
But Terry Rozier goes into the offseason, like, that guy's not going to sleep, man. That's not going to, that was your, you get your M&N one shot.
Right.
You got one shot. And, bleh.
He did nothing with it.
That was his lose yourself?
I mean, he lost for everybody.
Because I feel like his playoff run maybe superseded the one game, did it not?
I mean, that was
he came up pretty big.
It was a pretty epic gag, man. Like, he had wide open looks at the end of that game to push back LeBron.
He did.
Wide open looks because the Cavs are terrible at defense.
LeBron's greatest trick, as he ages, he's found out a way to make the East way worse.
Well, his greatest trick is that he makes everyone miss open shots. It's like, how? Even when he's on the bench, the Celtics, well, he wasn't on the bench in Game 7.
And Kevin Durant's starting to learn the same thing. I mean, it's a little annoying.
The first time he made the finals with the Miami Heat, his playoff run, I believe he had to go through Pierce, Allen, Rondo, and Garnett, and that was just a second round. We went through them in 5. Then the MVP, Derrick Rose, and Joakim Noah, and Luol Deng, and everybody was picking the Bulls. The Bulls won that first game. The Heat won that series in 5.
Yep.
That is such a much harder path than what he's had to do here recently. It's amazing.
It's why Stephen A. is right. Like, all this nonsense about, and Brian Windhorst telling us that we can never allow anyone to forget the run that LeBron just made. What kind of run did he make? He made a run through Fred VanVleet. Well, I mean, what are you talking about?
This is the run that he made. And this is the part, okay? This is the part to me that matters. LeBron James could have played on any team in the East, and that team would be in the finals because he just did. He could have played on any of the teams in the East.
Even the Knicks?
Any of them. And he would be in the finals because it's what he just did. That was a hodgepodge collection of players. They didn't get much of anything from the guys they traded for. He is doing it with the Knicks already. He did it with Shumpert and J.R. Smith. He won a bleeping championship with the Knicks already.
But just so we're clear, you have him with the Atlanta Hawks making it to the NBA Finals.
He could have turned Basemore into whatever the hell Jeff Green did in Game 7.
Ooh, contribution.
I'm serious. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, as you continue to hunt down Johnny Knoxville. We'll have him next segment.
It's a lot of people are talking about, obviously, what LeBron's going to do, what's the right situation for him. And I know that they had assets and they had the top pick and they had Kyrie Irving on the roster, but he went to a team that had the number one pick in the lottery the last time he decided. He can literally go anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, he couldn't do that out West. That team would not have survived the West. That team...
No. But he can go to Houston and be the guy that makes the difference and gets them past Golden State. He can do that if he wants.
Anywhere, though. Yeah. He could have gone to any team in the East. I don't put that on the poll when you can, Guillermo. Would LeBron be in the finals with any team from the East? Guillermo has tracked down Johnny Knoxville. Again, we will talk to him about this movie in moments. And we've got Stugotz's Weekend Observations, 12:30 Eastern. Johnny Knoxville is next.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Don Le Batard.
It's a beautiful sport. Basketball is just hugely graceful.
Stugotz.
In the Western Conference.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We're not really making daredevils anymore, and so Johnny Knoxville represents the last of a hope it's not actually dying breed, because he does not mind suffering pain. His real name is Philip John Clapp Jr. Thank you for joining us. Does anyone call you that? Does anyone call you Philip?
I think Mom has to call him Philip.
Does she?
Only when she's angry. Only when she's angry.
I let my third grade teacher call me Philip, Mrs. Hanasak, but she was the only person I ever let call me Philip.
What does Mom call you?
She called me PJ.
Okay, very good. That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Yeah. Action Point is in theaters this Friday, and I read an interview with you. I was stunned that you thought it was wisdom, the form of wisdom. Your therapist first of all, I was amazed that you were in therapy, but then beyond that you thought it wise that your therapist said, Johnny, think before you act. And that you thought that how is it possible?
That's a fortune cookie, Johnny.
Yeah. How is it possible that you had not considered that before?
That's how far gone I was, that concept did not even occur to me. I was like, that's brilliant. So, but in all honesty, for Action Point, I stopped therapy because I knew I was going to be doing a lot of stunts and having to go to a pretty crazy place. So I was like, maybe it doesn't make sense to do what I'm about to do and do therapy. They kind of fight each other.
Well, I'm reading also that you suffered a lot of different injuries while filming Action Point. It's in theaters this Friday. You want to just give us the short list?
The 4 concussions, broke my hand, busted my meniscus, whiplash stitches, lost a few teeth, broke the ethmoid lamina bone in my face, which caused 2 blowout fractures of my left eye.
When I read about the left eye, it was a little more than that. Yeah, we're recoiling.
Yeah.
We're recoiling. That silence you heard was was fear, and but I thought you were going to keep going with the eye because it gets worse, right?
Well, that's with the blowout fracture. Yeah, it was when I went back to the hotel. I had a little blood in my nose from the emergency room and the concussion that I just received doing a stunt. And when I blew my nose, my left eye popped out of its socket, and I had to go back to the emergency room.
And what do you think in those moments, Johnny?
In those moments, you don't think, you just act. I saw my eye pop out, and I was terrified, and I popped it back in and went back to the hospital.
What do you
You're
mean
not expecting that when you blow your nose, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what do you mean you popped it back in? Like, take us through that. What do you mean you popped it back in? You picked it up off the floor, popped it back in?
No, it doesn't come, it didn't disattach.
No, it wasn't hanging. I thought if I would have kept blowing my nose, I would have pushed it all the way out because what had happened, unbeknownst to me, I had powdered my bone in my face, so I was blowing air behind my eye when I blew and blowing it out of its socket. And it went way past Marty Feldman. And then I popped it back in.
All right, he's dedicated to the cause. His new movie, Action Point, which you should see. So you see it because if you can see it because of what he just said.
Johnny, this park was such a big part of my childhood. I'm wondering, what made you want to do a movie on this particular park?
Oh, well, it's an amazing place.
Yes.
I saw my friend Derek Freight had sent me the 14-minute documentary on the place.
Right.
And my mind was blown. I didn't know this place existed. And had the wonderful Gene Mulvihill was the owner. He's like, I don't want to hassle the kids with a bunch of rules. Let's leave safety up to them. And he did. And tell me about your experience there.
Oh, it was fantastic. We made up the rules. There were no rules. We did a show a while ago where I said it was like the wild, wild west of action parks. And there were no rules. And here's the thing. Because I was going around as a teenager and I was drinking beers and I was hammered with all my friends. But the people who worked there, Johnny, they were drunker than I was.
It's like Lord of the Flies with weed and beer.
How does this work with you, though? Like, what would you describe as the why for your doing this? I mean, you became friends with Johnny Cash and Hunter S. Thompson and I think Evel Knievel as well, right?
I never met Johnny Cash. I hung out with Hunter a few times. I wouldn't say we were friends, but I did get to hang out with him on 3 or 4 occasions. And Evel Knievel, we made a documentary on him, Being Evil. I'm very proud of it. I had a chance to meet him one night at the ESPN Awards for Matt. We were introducing Matt Hoffman, but the guys acted so ugly when we walked out on stage that Pontius was naked. Someone kicked Wee Man off the stage. This other guy was trying to puke. It made Evel Knievel mad, and he never wanted to be around me or us after that.
And how did that feel to you as someone who grew up? Were you embarrassed for and by your friends, or do you have to just be loyal to them even if your hero doesn't like their behavior?
I don't remember giving a honestly. Oh, I'm sorry. Oops. I don't remember caring. Honestly.
Okay. All right.
Good save, John.
Yeah, fair enough. Kick, save, and a beaut. What would you say is the greatest pain you've known in one of these injuries that you've suffered because you're a crazy person?
Oh, boy. Well, I don't know. Like, the concussion sometimes can linger and hurt, and I've gotten some pretty bad ones, especially after the butterbean thing. I even had vertigo after that. When I broke my gym dog, that was psychologically torturing. But I think the most pain is probably something like pepper spray, because if you get a concussion, you usually get knocked out, and then, you're a little sore and dizzy afterwards. But the pepper spray is like 30 minutes of fire in your eyes, and it is the worst.
New movie, Action Point. It's in theaters this Friday. I will ask you again, Johnny, why?
Why? Because I love it. I love doing stunts. And it's a perfect world. That insane of a park. It's like if we designed the rides. Me and the guys designed the rides and ran the park. It has so much in common with Jackass. That DIY spirit and just, it's of the same thing.
You're not fearless, though, right? There is fear, right?
Oh, no, I'm not fearless, but I can override whatever fear's there.
What's the
That's probably not so healthy.
What
fear? Yeah.
What is the greatest fear you've known? What is the worst that you've felt before partaking in something where you were like, this is the most dangerous and the most fear that I can overtake?
I don't know. There's a number of times where this could go forever bad, and you get a little nervous 3 or 4 days out. But as you get closer to the stunt, I calm down because I have to. Mostly I just get scared for my kids, honestly. But me, I can control the fear in me.
How often will someone in your family tell you stop?
My family has been over the stunts. I realized that from the beginning. When I first showed my sister the tape of me testing self-defense equipment on myself back in '98, I thought she was going to love it, and she didn't like it at all. And I understand. So my family's over it.
Is there any story you could take us through, whether it's Jackass, the TV show, or the movie, any story that can now be told that people might not know of how it almost wasn't a thing or almost ended somewhere else? Is there anything like that you have?
That Jackass, the TV show, almost ended, or Jackass almost ended?
It did. No. Did it?
Is that the question?
I'm asking you if in the history of the Jackass movies and movie and TV show, if there was any point along the line, there's some details you could give us of something that people don't know.
Oh, I don't know if people don't know, but I mean, I don't know if I've discussed it before, but Jackass was always hanging on by a thread. When you have that group of guys in who do that kind of thing, there's a reason we get great footage. Everyone is a little sideways, so it's always been volatile. I mean, even the TV show, we got shut down during the pilot. It almost didn't even make it to TV because we did a thing where I was in a prison orange jumpsuit and handcuffed and went into a hardware store and said, "Hey, can somebody help me saw these cuffs off?" And multiple cops showed up, pulled their guns on me, ordered me on the ground.
Yeah, that's
because of that. Yeah. MTV could not shoot in West Hollywood for at least a decade.
Yeah, that's what the kind of story I was looking for.
That's good. Johnny Knoxville with us here on ESPN Radio. His new movie, Action Point, is in theaters this Friday. What's the craziest thing you discovered about Action Park through doing this movie, Johnny?
The craziest thing, I mean, just, of course, the rides were so dangerous. And like you said, even the people that operated the rides were teenagers and they were loaded. And you imagine coming out there with a broken arm or foot or something. But even like the water was so dirty there that girls would get yeast infections just getting in the water.
Of course.
I mean, it was just a train wreck.
Yeah, they called it the grave pool, not the wave pool.
Yeah. Who's the most off of the Jackass guys? Like who would you say is the most off?
Ooh, God, I don't know. There's it's a pretty special group of guys, and it's like I couldn't make that call. I don't know if you should trust me to make that call.
I imagine, though, that if you guys get into a disagreement, it just ends up with everybody actually physically fighting. Like, are there many stories like that?
There's been a couple of, like, quick fights that we broke up. I know that maybe Bam and Steve-O got in a little thing, and There's been a few fights, but they none of us can fight, and it's over pretty quick, and it's forgotten quick. Pontius actually strong. He if it goes to the ground, Pontius can take anybody. He's very strong.
What was the vertigo like? Right, it was Butterbean. You allowed him to punch you.
We went into a swap meet and had a boxing match. So when he knocked me out on my feet, but I So I went, you see my body go limp, and I just fall over like a tree being fell and hit my head on the concrete floor, and it just busts open like a melon. And in the video, it seems like I'm snoring, but my doctor told me I was trying to swallow my tongue.
Oh, for the love of God. Okay, that's the perfect dismount.
Think before you act.
No, that's the perfect dismount right there. Boom. Action Point is in theaters this Friday. It sounded like I was snoring. That needs to be on the movie poster. It sounded like I was snoring, but my doctor said I was trying to swallow my tongue. Thank you, Johnny, for being on with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Don Le Batard.
The bifocal eyeglasses.
Stugotz.
Marcus Mariota. Growing up right in front of our eyes.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
The Golden State Warriors are as big a favorite as you've ever seen in the NBA Finals. If LeBron James wins the title, it will be somehow the biggest upset in the history of the sport. But what is funny about that is if Houston had hit a couple of shots last night, you all would think LeBron has a chance.
No doubt.
Against Houston.
All
of you.
Yes.
All of you. Going into this series, nobody thinks LeBron has any kind of chance.
Right.
But you would all think it if it was James Harden, those puke on yourself Rockets, and an injured Chris Paul. That was the path to the title. Houston making a couple of threes last night was the path toward LeBron winning another title.
What do you think the odds would have been if it was that?
I think it would have been a lot different because of Chris Paul's health. You have to bet $1,000 to win $100 on the Warriors. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why LeBron's got to stay out east. Has to. Because if he's out in the West, he's going to have to be the one to end Golden State's run before they get to the finals. He can stay in the East and hope and pray a team like Houston does it.
Time now for Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Vivid Seats. When's the last time you were at a game or a concert? Go to vividseats.com/ESPN today for your exclusive discount offer. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Dan, I've got LeBron in 7. You in?
No.
You're not in?
No.
Wager or something like that? No, nothing?
All right, we've got time.
Not a lot of time. Deal's off the table, COB tomorrow. Get back to me, okay? I got him at 7. I know he bled earlier this year, but I'm still not sure. When he bled, are we positive it wasn't glowing, neon green, predator blood? Duke and Yale playing each other for a national championship is so lacrosse. Matt Harvey, out of the big leagues, inside of 2 years, collision course, nominee for least shocking headline of 2018. Richie Incognito, a tax man at gym, tells cops he works for the NSA. Listen, I love it as much as anybody, but that sport ain't good for you. A lot of people are saying that LeBron winning the East with the Cavs is like winning an NBA championship. And here's what I say to the people saying that. Shut up. Beating Victor Oladipo, Jonas Valanciunas, and Al Horford is the furthest thing from winning an NBA championship. In fact, it's the easiest path he's ever had to the NBA championship. Those same people seem to forget he took a team to the NBA Finals that started Eric Snow and Drew Gooden. Celtics, Cavs. That's why they say the series doesn't end until somebody loses a home game. Celtics, Cavs. 7 completely forgettable NBA playoff games. Steve Kerr slamming the NFL's new anthem policy, which states players must stand when the league he coaches in has the same exact policy. Steve, the Stugotz is strong in you. Steve Kerr calling the NFL's new anthem policy idiotic. I'll tell you what's idiotic. Anyone taking seriously what Steve Kerr has to say about anything. What are we doing with Steve Kerr? We assign all these attributes to Steve. What has he ever done?
I mean, wasn't his father a war hero?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a little...
Okay, it doesn't matter. Right, I don't know. Let me
really dampens the mood in here.
Let me wave my flag of ignorance.
It was unfair of you to do that to me. I mean, I was just making a point. Steve Kerr, a winner guy. He's a genius. He played with David Robinson. He played with Michael Jordan, and he took over a team that was already great. I didn't draft any of the players. Anyway, show of hands. Who found out Quinn Cook was a Warrior when he took a shot for them in the final minutes of Game 5? It's amazing. The crew in Houston was able to clean up that spot on the floor Quinn Cook pooped himself on. Maryland's women's lacrosse. I expect, and I'm pretty sure your players expect, and I'm pretty sure the parents of your players expect, something better than clearing the ball like a youth rec team. Meryl Streep has nothing on Marcus Smart. Jason Tatum, ice in his veins. Jason Tatum, as cool as the other side of the pillow. Cassius Marsh, another former Patriot, now ripping the Patriots. Cassius, do me a favor. Say it when you were there, or give me specifics. Name names, or zip it up. Cliff Averill said a lot of Seahawks. Questioned Pete Carroll after the Super Bowl interception. Cliff, do me a favor. Say it right after the game. At the very least, say it when he's still your head coach. Otherwise, don't say it. Few things prettier in sports than the Kyle Korver catch and shoot and his hair. Can't believe Brad Auerbach couldn't figure out a way to beat the Cavs at home without its second best player. What are we doing there with that guy? 33.6 points per game, 52% from the field, 41% from three. No doubt about it. No one guards LeBron like Marcus Morris. Jeff Van Gundy asked when the national media is going to start giving Tyronn Lue the credit he deserves. Short answer, Jeff. Never. LeBron James, do it in the finals. Watching the final minutes of Game 7 and seeing Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart, and Marcus Morris taking the Celtics' biggest shots really makes you realize just how bad the East is. I'll never forget where I was when he said it. May 28th, 2018, 12:26 a.m., Garden City Hotel, eating TCBY, and LeBron James said Game 7 was a team effort. I told Dan Jason Tatum was the next MJ, LeBron-like player in the NBA. Dan laughed at me in a condescending way. Dan also thought Greg Oden was going to be better than Kevin Durant. Dodgers have won 8 out of 10. Unfortunately for them, Clayton Kershaw is coming back. Sergio Ramos should be ashamed of himself. It's a tradition, unlike any other, watching LeBron lose in the NBA Finals. It's important I say that I really like Steve Kerr. I'm going to do this rant again. I already did the rant.
Just skip it.
I'm skipping it. Kyrie Irving, nasal surgery, doesn't pass the sniff test. Speaking of sniff test, you know who does pass? Saquon Barkley. Seen that guy?
Big thighs.
Big thighs, man. I'm not certain he can play on the PGA Tour as well. In fact, go Google a picture of Saquon Barkley at his golf swing. That guy's incredible. Steve Kerr, what's going on with the hair? Warriors are great at every position except for Steve Kerr's head. Steve Kerr, go to the store, buy some gel. Steph Curry, not injured for now. Spoke to my dad over the weekend. He asked me to remind Chris Paul that Isaiah Thomas played a playoff game with a severely sprained ankle and scored 43 points. So, Chris Paul, I'm reminding you. Then he called me back, and he told me to also remind him of Willis Reed. And he hung up. Called back less than a minute later. No joke. Said flu game, hung up. He thinks I speak directly to Chris Paul when doing this show. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Such a shame. If Kevin Durant was simply doing this with Russell Westbrook instead of Steph Curry, he'd be closing in on back-to-back championships. How's it possible that in 41 minutes, Trevor Ariza had a worse game than Chris Paul? Listen, at least Daryl Morey still has small ball. That's his musical, for those of you who don't know. Kevin Durant said LeBron is playing next-level basketball and seemed genuinely astonished. Makes sense. Hard work and guts are things KD are not familiar with. Houston Rockets, live by the three, die by the three. Josh Freeman, strange career. Want to know when you're approaching football hell? When you are buried on the quarterback depth chart of the Montreal Alouettes. Josh Freeman got off one stop before meeting Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Nailed it.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
Dan Le Batard.
Good work today. That was a fun show.
Stugotz.
It was also intergalactically stupid.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
At Le Batard Show is where we are on Twitter. If you ever want to partake in the polls, they get tens of thousands of votes, these polls. We're a big show with a lot of reach that we use to ask ridiculous questions that don't mean anything. So where do we begin today with the dumb questions that we asked via polls, Stugotz?
Should Cody, who was late because he went to get coffee, have to just wander around the studio today instead of getting his rightful seat, which he has not earned? 90% of the audience said yes.
He was terrible today. And we did it quietly, but he died at noon, and we just buried him.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's why you haven't heard from him in the last 45 minutes. We had a quick ceremony.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing that Chris's son is still working through it, but yes, that happened.
You know what
today.
we should do? Get him on the phone right now, and let's clip him on the Hard Net Workout.
Oh,
That's
please.
just saying that
what
the
if he's
audience.
Listening? Hold on.
Just telling him that the audience is worried about him, and we want an update on his health.
The good thing about Greg is even if he's listening, he's not listening.
And yeah, he's right. That's correct.
Does Greg have an illness or a bleeping cold? 72% of the audience said a bleeping cold. Did the Rockets and Celtics poop themselves? 91% of the audience said yes. Did you know Joe Johnson was a Rocket before this series? 74% of the audience said no. Do you remember Charles Chips? 85% of the audience said no.
No,
wow.
I
love those things.
The Cans made an excellent tom-tom.
They really did.
Wow.
No, he's right about that. They did.
They were good.
Yep. They've expanded their business. They got pretzels now and chocolate-covered pretzels and barbecue chips.
Your mouth is watering. Keep reading.
Okay. Does A-Rod know how to eat a hot dog? 89% of the audience said no. Would LeBron James be in the NBA Finals on every other Eastern Conference team? I mean, the Hawks is the only one. 87% of the audience. I just can't see Dennis Schroeder in an NBA Finals.
But they would have kept Bellinelli and Ilyasova, and then they would have
sold.
He would have.
You're right.
They would have run roughshod right through the East. Bellinelli would have been hitting so many crooked threes.
87% of the audience said yes, by the way.
That's crazy when you think about it. Not just that he's in the finals, not just that he dragged the waterlogged corpse of Kendrick Perkins with him to the finals.
I forgot that guy's going to the finals.
Kevin Love didn't play in a road game 7, and LeBron was just like, "It's all right. I got it.
I got this.
Easy.
I got you.
Look at you. See, there's Scary Terry over there. He's going to take all their important shots. Watch how that works out for them.
I know it's Scary Terry, but for some reason, Scary Terry hasn't dropped a home playoff game this postseason.
Why do we keep doubting him?
I mean,
what are we doing?
It seems imprudent.
Because I know I was confident, like uber confident guy as the postseason went on, but even I had my doubts along the way, man.
I think the serious mistake here is not necessarily doubting LeBron James, because if there were good teams, there'd be reason for doubt. It's really siding with Terry Rozier.
We're getting a lot of texts here, and whichever one of the Morris brothers that is that plays for the Celtics.
Right. Yeah, Valanciunas, exactly. It's on me all at that point.
Yeah. And Fleet. A lot of texters writing in here that they're worried about the coughing fits that Greg Cote was having. He's claiming that he's got an illness. Greg, are you on the line now? Can you?
I am on the line.
Are you there? Is everything okay? Because we are a little bit worried about you.
Yeah, I'm driving 100
We will talk to you mañana. This was the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
We live in a racist country.